Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Isa. My name is Tan. I'm a project coordinator at Sabil. Thank you for joining us for the latest Kumi Now online gathering. I've provided links in the chat where you can access our previous videos and our website, and I can send that again for the new people who have joined. Our topic today will be on human rights, and we're honored to be joined today by Isa Amro. Isa is a great friend of Sabil, so many of you might already know him. But in case you don't, he is a human rights activist who has dedicated his life to peaceful resistance against Israeli occupation in Hebron. He founded the activist group Youth Against Settlements and has become a leading voice in the nonviolent resistance movement in Palestine. He's been present on many of our recent delegations, but also he's frequently documenting abuses by the military and settlers in the West Bank and has been punished, threatened, or violently attacked as a result. So today he'll be joining us talking about human rights, about updates from Hebron and other topics surrounding the West Bank. So the first part of the meeting will be dedicated to Isa, but please stay around after he leaves as we will be dedicating our time to advocacy work. So Isa, thank you for joining us, and feel free to start whenever.
Yes, thank you very much. And I love Sabil and I love their volunteers and I love their work. Thank you for everything you do in Palestine and thank you for everything you do outside Palestine. I think the work outside Palestine is very important as well as the work in Palestine. We all work together to make a change. And without the global support, the international solidarity movement, with us as activists in the field, we can't survive and we can't continue. So I want to thank you deeply from my heart for your support, for your passion, for your sympathy, and for your great success and victories all over the world. This is something very important. I want to say that it's getting harder and closer to victory for us. It's very hard now. The situation is getting to be much harder. But that means we use this opportunity, to make a change, to transform the threats, the current threats with Trump administration and with Netanyahu, Smotrich, Bingvir, government, with the Trump administration. They will, do the maximum of what they can do, and we should do, and we should be ready to do the maximum of what we do. At the end, we will win. At the end, we will make a change. At the end, we will have freedom and justice for everybody. Now, the situation in the ground is really hard. All over West Bank, since October 7th, it's fragmented. Hundreds of checkpoints and closures. Nobody can count them because they are too many and they are changing a lot. Every day they are closing more roads, more streets, more cities, more compounds. So they work since October 7th to isolate the villages from each other, the villages from the cities from the other cities. So to go to Bethlehem from Hebron, it's now a mission. You need to do a lot of work to go from a village to Hebron. It's the same. So they are working around fragmentation, of Palestinians from each other, from Jenin to Yatta. It's all fragmented. Something else very important. So movement is very restricted. People are not leaving their cities, their compounds, their villages. Something more important than that, people don't work. They don't have source of income. The majority of the Palestinians, the main two employers are the Palestinian Authority, and the Palestinian Authority employees, they don't get salaries. They get, pieces, because that Israel, who's responsible about collecting the taxation of Palestinian goods, because Israel controls all the borders, all the, the ports. You can't import or export without, Israel permit, and they collect the taxes when they, receive the goods to Palestine. So the main two employers are the Palestinian Authority, and they don't get the money from the taxation. Israel is cutting the money, freezing the money of Gaza, so the Palestinian Authority is not able to pay its employees, and they are the main employer. The second employer is the workers inside Israel. And the workers inside Israel, they don't work since October 7th. No workers. Very few of them are working. Third, the Palestinian economy is affected because Israel fragmented West Bank and there is no way to do any kind of production. So the main three employers, PA, the Israeli market, labor market, and even the Palestinian private market, they are all affected by the Israeli closure policy, oppression policy, everything they do. Something else we should talk about, the raid. Israeli military every day they raid Palestinian cities, Palestinian compounds, Palestinian villages. And when they raid the cities, they stay sometimes 12 hours, sometimes 24 hours. They search houses, they vandalize the furniture, they vandalize the land, they detain Palestinians, they beat them up, they arrest Palestinians. Around 12,000 Palestinians were arrested since October 7th in the West Bank. I'm talking about West Bank, to highlight what's going on in West Bank. So the arrest, the detention, the treatment of the people who are detained or arrested, they use numbers for the detainees. I have a friend, his name is Osama Shaheen, 17. They called him number 17. They didn't tell him Osama, and they detained him for 12 hours, and he was 17. He was not Osama. Him and another 20 Palestinians. And it's a trend everywhere. And for Palestinian prisoners, they are using starvation for Palestinian prisoners. They give them 1,000 calories per day only, per prisoner. And they treat them, they dehumanize them, they make their life really horrible inside jail. So Israel is violating the international treaties about the international law and about prisoners, how to treat prisoners. They are really, because it's being their responsibility. Itamar being he's the far right wing, terrorist. Something else, education. Palestinians are not able to move from one city to another to go to universities. So the majority of the universities, they use online, and students didn't register. First, they are afraid to move between the cities because the student's age is the target. The university's student age is the target. Second, because they don't have enough money to cover the expenses for the universities, either the fees or even the daily expenses. Settlers in the West Bank, they became much more violent. They are going after Palestinians, the Palestinian farmers, the Palestinian farms, Palestinian animals. They attack Palestinians every day almost. So we have, maybe last month, it was around more than 400 attacks from settlers on Palestinians, violent attacks. Me personally, in November, I was attacked more than 10 times. They threw stones at my house. They threw empty bottles on my house, empty beer bottles. They stole my CCTV cameras again and again, verbally attacked me many times, threats all the time. You don't feel safe in your house. So that's the life with the settlers. The settlers feel emboldened, especially after Trump won, and they see that it's the time to do annexation. And the Israeli government decided to remove administrative detention from the Israeli settlers. It's a big movement toward, allowing settlers to do whatever they want. And even, the Israeli security forces, they rarely use administrative detention. Administrative detention means you go to jail with secret files and they don't know anything about you. And the real terrorists who killed Palestinians, the Israeli police can't arrest them, so they put them in administrative detention. So there were few cases of administrative detention. Now the Israeli Defense Minister, Katz, the new appointed minister, cancelled the administrative detention only for the settlers. So settlers are not now under the administrative detention. But in Israeli jails, where Israel uses the administrative detention against Palestinians, for their human rights, for their political activities, for their social activities, for disagreeing even with the PA. They put Palestinians in administrative detention. We have around 3,500, 3,400 Palestinians in administrative detention, which means 3,400 Palestinian families, they don't know why their relatives, their friends, their supporters are in jail. This is something very important. It's severe. Israel never used that number of administrative detention, prisoners. Now there are 3,400 Palestinians, among them kids, among more than 100 kids, and more than 20 women. And a friend of mine, my lawyer with the Palestinian Authority cases, Diala, is one of them. She's amazing lawyer, liberal lawyer. She's in jail for her political activities and for her social activities. She's in jail since 8 months. And to be very honest, we don't know why. I know why, we know why. Because the sole purpose of the Israeli military system is to prevent Palestinians from dreaming about freedom. If you dream about freedom, they may put you in administrative detention. And so prisoners, economy is really very hard. Raid from the army, fragmented West Bank completely. And this administrative detention, it's another example and another indicator of the Israeli apartheid. How you remove the administrative detention from the settlers and you keep it for Palestinians. This is something very important. This is another indicator, another proof that Israel is an apartheid state. The main proof is that me, Isa Amro, and all Palestinians in my city and in the West Bank are under Israeli military law, which means you are guilty until you're proven innocent. You are guilty by law until you're proven innocent. It's the opposite of the civilian law. Not only that, non-violence resistance under the military law is not allowed. I was indicted, convicted, and sentenced in the military court for my non-violence activism. Today, Sami Huraini from South Mount Hebron, from Yatta, from the village of Twane, was convicted for protesting peacefully against the Israeli occupation. He was convicted, and his sentence was, 1 month in jail, suspended time in jail. But that means he's suspended and he will go to jail next time he organizes a protest against the Israeli occupation. So the administrative detention removal, it's an indicator to all of us that Israel is an apartheid state. So we can use it for advocacy, removing administrative detention, for the settlers and keeping it for Palestinians. The second one, which is very important, removing the administrative detention. It means about the settlers. It means that it's the beginning of annexation. It's the removing the Israeli military authority on the settlers. Because now the Israeli military is allowing the Israeli police to function and operate the civilian law on the settlers. Now the Israeli leaders want the settlers to be under the Israeli law directly without the military. And it's a kind of annexation, and it's about the legal system. The civilian system will be directly implemented on the Israeli settlers. This is something very important. And the third one about administrative detention, removing it, it's about encouragement to do more violence against Palestinians, to reduce the number of Palestinians in the West Bank to minimum, in the West Bank in general, and in Area C and H2 in Hebron in specific. About settler violence, Itamar Ben-Gvir, the Israeli National Security Minister, he distributed more than 150,000 rifles. Many of them were made outside Israel, in the States and other countries. The 150,000 rifles reminds me of the 1930s and 20s of the Israeli Jewish militias, the Herguns and the Herzls and the Haganas, who were dead, who did many massacres against Palestinians that time. So if we don't work hard, if we don't now act with concrete actions, much more massacres, as the Ibrahim Mosque massacre, which happened in 1994, will happen. About Hebron, you know that Hebron situation is very hard. But after October 7th, the situation became much harder. First, they added more surveillance on us. Everything, all my life details are observed and monitored, and they spy on us. When I leave the house, the settlers come and attack my house. How come they knew that I'm not in the house? Because of their surveillance, because of their blue wolf and their red wolf, systems who are observing and monitoring Palestinian civilians. It's not about security. Something else. Nobody is allowed to visit me in my house. Only internationals, Israelis, and the people who are living in the area. So around 1,000 Palestinian families in Hebron, they don't have any social life. They don't have any services. They don't feel safe, and they can't practice their own national identity. So no Palestinian flags, no Palestinian songs, and all what they hear is Israeli songs, Israeli flags, and Israeli settlers. They have their own visitors. So we feel that we are losing our city by time. We are losing our identity by time. This is something very important to address in our lifetime. And then you don't feel safe, no social life, and no services. Services, ambulance, you can't get an ambulance on time. To get any electrician inside to do maintenance to your fridge, you need hours and days of coordination to bring in a maintenance man, a craftsperson, to do any kind of maintenance to your house. So this policy means they don't evict you physically from your house, but they make it impossible for you to stay. They use it in H2 in Hebron. They are using it in Area C, and they will increase that by settler violence and army oppression, and nobody will speak about that, to make Palestinians leave Area C, leave H2, then leave even West Bank, because Israeli ministers are saying that we should reduce the number of Palestinians in Gaza to half, and in the West Bank to no one, to no one. They don't want anyone in the West Bank to annex it to Israel. This is my introduction. And for sure, in the field, we don't give up. We keep working, documenting the human rights violations, leading tours, doing advocacy, doing more legal actions, trying to help the families' resilience to stay and remain in these hard times. Now we are campaigning about the olive harvest, but when we finish, we will go to another campaign. Thank you very much for inviting me. I am happy to be in touch with all of you. You can find me all over social media, Isa Amro, and I'm ready to engage and be part of any direct action, any concrete action against the Israeli occupation.
Thank you, Issa, for your presentation, and it's very depressing. I know what's going on. If you can answer some questions for Q&A, there's a few people. I guess one question, and this might be related to, in general, to international support. How can people support the work you're doing and the current movement that's happening, against occupation in the West Bank? Particularly, what can international delegations, other than just visiting, what can they do more that would, support what you're doing right now?
For now, many people in the world are doing great actions. We see them from Palestine. We see them. We see their support. We hear their voices when they are in the streets shouting. We see their tweets. We see everything they do for us. And this means energy. This means protection for us. So everybody is doing something for Palestine is very important. And we like it, and we love it, and we feel stronger. It's our energy. It's our protection. You are our shield. This is something very important. You are doing great. The movement, the international pro-Palestine movement is doing amazing. They should get Nobel Prize. They should get all prizes in the world. They are the ones who are making huge difference on the ground. We are not able to do whatever we want. But our friends outside Palestine, they're doing amazing. Thanks to all of them, especially the people on Sabil and all the other movement. And our movement should be united, and we put aside all our disagreement. We should be united now. What you can do, be creative. This is something very important. Be creative. Think about how to make the occupation costly and make it part of your daily routine. Media, networking, advocacy, protesting, legal work, writing to families, donation to our movement, fundraising, creating ideas, be connected, be together. All of that together can make a change. And choose any one of them, choose what you can do, and we will win. I feel it. It's harder now, but we are closer to the win.
And has there been, you mentioned that there's been some work that you've done to support your community in Hebron. Have there been any successful cases, whether that be with those who have been imprisoned or, just successful cases of supporting other families?
We are having daily victories against the occupation where I live. We protect the families, we put fences, we strengthen their doors. Now we are working on a surveillance, counter surveillance project. They have their own surveillance, we will have our own surveillance as well. We are working on that. We are collecting funds for that, the counter surveillance. We do some kind of training to the families, how to defend themselves, how to protect themselves, how to protect their houses. We do a lot of media, and we have a lot of media successes these days. But we keep many families inside their homes, and even we brought back families who left. And the last weekend was Shabbat Sarah. It was very violent days. Our work on the ground, we had our own volunteers staying in the houses, staying with the families, documenting the movement of the settlers, and the settlers were moving around to attack, and they were not able to attack families. They threw stones at us, they threw buttons, but from far. They didn't manage to break into any house. This is a big success for us. We managed to reduce their violence to minimum out of our experience, how to deal with them. So we do work. We have a lot of victories. Now we are working hard about the olive harvest campaign. The Israeli military is not allowing us, but we are insisting to go and have really pressure on the Israeli military to make it a really big deal.
And are there ways for people to support the protective presence? Because I'm assuming there's activists also coming to Hebron to support some of the work. So has there been, more groups coming?
To be very honest, we need more groups. We want volunteers on the ground with us and online. So if anybody wants to volunteer and support our work in Palestine, in Hebron, or online, be in touch with me or be with Sabil, and we can work together.
Awesome, thank you. And I think youth of Samud, or Youth Against Settlements, they have a website for donations, I'm assuming.
Yes, I can send you the sponsor who's
Awesome.
sponsoring us. This is another organization who sponsor our activities. It's called Friends of Hebron.
And related to this, someone asked that you talked a lot about human rights violations, and in terms of the general question about how can these human rights be respected, do you have any insight on that question?
ICC managed to issue a search warrant against Netanyahu and Gallant. That is a big deal for us. It's because of you, because of your work, because of our supporters' work outside Palestine. Now, the Israeli prime minister is a war criminal. It's a big deal. So we do well. We are in the right track. We are in defense. We are in resistance. We are not there yet, but we will be. This is something very important. Don't at all. Don't ever lose hope. Hope is our resilience. Hope is our engine to continue, because we are working on the right side. We are doing everything. Even our dreams are according to the international law. So we are the ones who are, protecting the international law now, protecting the international institutions to stay, to keep peace, and to prevent wars, and to prevent genocide, and to prevent torture against all civilians, all human beings all over the world. It's not only about Palestine. Israel is damaging the international peace mechanism. Israel is damaging the international mechanism to prevent wars and to make war criminals accountable. But we, the Palestinians, with our supporters from outside, we are the ones who are protecting everybody in the world to protect the international law and follow the international treaties and the human rights. It's you. It's not only about Palestine. It's about everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Issa, for that. And in terms of B'Tselem and other human rights organizations, someone also asked if they still have a presence in Hebron and documenting this as well.
We have Breaking the Silence. They are ex-soldiers. They come to Hebron with tours. They do amazing tours. You can get a testimony from an ex-soldier about what the Israeli military human rights violations, what they were doing when they were in the military. And by the way, they are collecting amazing testimonies from Gaza now. Wait their testimonies, wait the soldier testimonies who talked about what they did or what other soldiers did in Gaza. This is something very important. So we have organizations as Breaking the Silence, Yeshdin, B'Tselem sometimes do good work. So really we work together to make the occupation costly, and we don't hide that. We are very proud of our joint activities and actions to make the Israeli occupation costly, to end apartheid, and to end the genocide in Gaza. This is without any doubt. We work together.
Thank you, Issa. If there are other questions, I'll try to ask it. Please put it in the chat. But thank you so much, Issa, for your advocacy and your witness. I think your presentation, your talk really inspired us, and I hope that everyone in the chat will continue to bear witness and do advocacy around the world. Randy, you have a question.
Yes, there was a question in the chat earlier about buying Palestinian goods and whether or not this was helpful or not in supporting Palestinian families. I know for many years we've been selling Palestinian olive oil, but I was concerned about the question that because of the taxes that have to be paid, is this more of a burden, or is this something helpful?
It's not only helpful, it's the philosophy we use. Level up Palestinians. The gap is so high between Palestinians and Israelis. So level up Palestinians. And one of the ways of leveling up Palestinians is to support Palestinian farmers and to support Palestinian economy. This is one of the resistant tools and methodology to level up Palestinians. To level up Palestinian voices, level up Palestinian farmers, level up Palestinian sports, level up Palestinian students, level up Palestinian artists, level them up. This is amazing idea. Do it.
Thank you, Randy, for pointing out that question. And
Thank you
I
very
would
much.
like to know, if you're going on any delegations to try to also support the local economy in that way, in person as well. So yeah, thank you, Issa. Are there any other questions before we? Oh, someone asked where we can buy Palestinian goods. If you know of anywhere we can support.
It's all over. Be in touch with me or with Sabil. You will find many Palestinian amazing goods, good quality, first hand.
Awesome, thank you. I know you're a busy man, so if you need to go, but we would like to thank you for being with us today, and was honored hearing from you.
Thank you, dear. All the love, all the respect. Be united and never ever lose hope.
Thank you, Issa. Awesome. So it was great hearing from Issa. We'll turn now to a discussion and advocacy section of Kumi. So I see there's a lot of comments in the chat, and if you want to later have a discussion in terms of buying goods and finding places to support. I know it's also near the holidays, so I think this could be a time also for everyone to just look into some shops online and try to support via that. So for now, I do have the kuminow.com action page, so I'll link that in the chat. So I'll mention a few actions here. So we do have links if you click on the action page to protests. So as Issa says, it's very important to continue to use your body and be doing protests in person and advocating in different ways. In terms of the United States actions, we talked about this last week, but we had some advocacy regarding the resolutions in the Senate and House. And obviously the resolution to block weapons to Israel did not pass. But 40% of Senate Democrats did vote to support this resolution. So we do want to continue to encourage them to go in the right direction. So there's a link in the action page where you can click on it and then basically send them an email of just thanking them for their support, especially if it's your senator in your state, if you're in the US. So I'll just link it also in the chat. And then Jewish Voice for Peace is continuing to do their email campaigns and call campaigns specifically to demand Congress to stop weapon transfers to Israel. So that's really important. The UK, the PSC, which is a very Palestine Solidarity Campaign, they're very active and they have petitions and actions. So I would also recommend visiting their website. You can also find that on the action page. I think there was some recent findings that the British government specifically has been really active in sending spy planes and other things almost every day to Gaza. So it's very important to pressure the UK government. In Canada, one of Toronto Arts Foundation's top donors, the Israeli Foundation, is the charitable counterpart of the genocidal Israeli group, which is Israel's largest real estate company. So they basically go around the world doing real estate sales on stolen Palestinian land. So they have a campaign where you can essentially try to pressure them to drop and cut ties with this foundation. So I'll send you the link for this as well in the chat. And then we also have been doing the Chevron Out of Palestine. So you can continue to send a letter to the Chevron CEO to boycott Chevron for Gaza. And I see a few things in the chat, so let me answer or read out loud if there's anything. Elizabeth Block says that there's a demo Friday in Toronto at Dundas Square at 5 p.m. So if you're in Toronto, that's a good thing you can come to. And let me see, Sabeel does have actually a few stores in the Old City that we usually support. And in our delegations, we recently have been inviting them to bazaars and things like that for delegation members to support them. So I can link a few if they have online stores. Most of them do. And they range from like perfumes to embroidered objects to olive oil. So I'll try to link a few of that in the chat just so you guys can take a look. And they're specifically in the Old City.
Tan,
Yes.
am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yeah, pronouncing it perfectly.
Okay. So one suggestion that I have is I noticed in the chat the thing about buying the creches in Bethlehem, or from Bethlehem, I should say. One thing that we're going to be doing, our Ithaca Catholic Workers has kept the baby Jesus in the rubble all year. And I had my rubble out in the front of my house with the Jesus. And we can do it again. It's god awful that I still have that crumbled cinder block down the end of the alley, and I'll be pulling it out again a year later. This is just sinful. Anyway, it's a suggestion. And we did bring a wheelbarrow to the local church and had the whole nativity scene with people dressed up. Diane Rowe was with us, and we had sacred songs and candles and all of that. So it really drew attention to the church. Thanks.
That's wonderful, Marianne. Thank you for sharing. It would be good to see you.
So can I say something?
Yes, of course.
In addition to that, I have a baby in the rubble in my window on Market Street, and the rubble that I'm using is actual rubble from demolished Palestinian homes where I witnessed the demolitions back in like 1998 and 99. And now there is a documentary from Al Jazeera about one of the families that was so prominent in the demolitions. I have rubble from his place, Atta Jabber, and I am going to show that documentary, and I hope also to show what Isa just said. It brings back so many realities to me. What is happening right now? Yeah. So I live very close to where Mary Ann lives. She's in Ithaca, and I'm in Corning, New York. So yeah. So, and thank you so much, Sabine, for everything you're doing.
Thank you so much, Diane. And it's great you guys live near each other. I'm also trying to find the links to the shop from the bazaar, but if people who have attended the bazaar and know some of the shops, you can link that as well.
And I put the link to the Star Bazaar at Bethlehem Bible College in the chat already.
Yeah, and they're great. They actually, I think, source products throughout Palestine. So they have like a variety of goods that you can take a look at. And obviously it's a Christian college, so you're also supporting them by buying from them.
Ton,
Yes.
Ton, it's Liz. I don't know how to do anything, but Jonathan Kotab sent a really interesting thing for Christmas this year about Herod wanting to kill the children after the Magi came to him. And I thought that was timely too, because the children have bullets in their heads and they want to wipe out a generation. And so I don't know how we depict that, but this at Christmas, these messages are harrowing,
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you all see that newsletter from Jonathan Kotab about celebrating Palestine Christmas? And he talks about Herod and the Magi and the flight to Egypt that we've seen in the miniatures of the Mughal and everywhere. It happened. The wailing and the lamenting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Liz. And yeah, people should take a look at what Jonathan said. And I think it's very important to also convey some of these messages to your local church communities or your local Bible studies. I think that can be just one way of action, is just theologically reflecting. That's always important. And Carol, thank you so much for sharing. I know you mentioned the protests last week, so it's great that the protest happened. And yeah, thank you for sharing the link.
Middlesbrough was quite active. On Sunday, we had a group that went down to support in London, and there was also a goodly number of us out in the centre of Middlesbrough. So there was a lot of energy that we sent people down south, and we were here too, to send out the word, let people know what's happening.
Yeah, thank you, Dorothy.
And will Sabine be having the thing on the regular Zoom on Thursday on Thanksgiving Day?
Yes, we're still intending to have this. I think Stephen Sizer is presiding over this one as a guest speaker. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay.
And I'm wondering if anyone from the last group has joined us that might be able to talk about the trip.
Yeah, there's several people actually in the group. So if anyone wants to raise their hand and volunteer to speak a little bit, that'd be great.